best strategy to reach climate goals is doing more good stuff or stopping the bad stuff?
Oh, way over on the doing more good stuff. Way over on doing more good stuff. First of all, we have to actually, in order to really crack the hardest nut of climate, we have to learn to be generous with each other and work together. Punishing people is the wrong sensibility. I really believe that. Even more so, when you show people what good luck looks like, everyone goes, oh, I want some of that. Nobody had to punish the makers of electric phones to buy an iPhone. You're just like, oh, that looks way better. I want that. I want a more efficient car, like you were saying about electric vehicles. You just need to be comprehensive about building the better world. And eventually, the bad stuff goes away because it can't compete.
Okay, I'm not that extreme. I do believe we need to bring the hammer down on some of the behavior we don't want, and I think time is short. I mean, both things need to happen. It's really not binary, and I would say one thing that I love about our state, we do have very powerful codes. And what the default for most companies operating in most businesses is not innovation. It's actually to keep doing what works, particularly if it's profitable. Why change? I've visited a fracking site in Texas a couple years back, and it was horrific. It was in Flower Mound outside of Dallas, and it was, there were fumes, and we met with families who had health problems, couldn't drink their water. The gas company was bringing them water. I mean, there's stuff that just should not be happening in America when we have better ways to deliver energy to people that don't pollute. But when that's highly profitable, it's very unlikely to change without some regulatory direction, or unlikely to change in a short time frame, which is what I think we should be aiming for.
Can I see a show of hands of who would be on the side of doing more good stuff? Who would be on the side of stopping doing the bad stuff? Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder how this would be different in different audiences, because everything you're saying is exciting and true, and yet we extracted more oil last year than any other year. And yet emissions are still incredibly high, higher than they've ever been. And so there is for me, a dynamic of being excited about all the things that are coming out, but then also needing to actively stop making things worse.
It's interesting that if you look at the reason coal died, or continues to die, is that with renewables, with the success of wind and solar, our grid shifted from really valuing baseload, like coal and nuclear, to now the grid is premiumized on free electrons on the margin from the wind and the sun, and coal is super rigid on the grid. So the economics of coal plants and nuclear plants actually, nuclear is very attractive in some ways because it's carbon free, but it's super rigid on the grid. You cannot dispatch it. And so the combination that coal was very dirty and the Clean Air Act really kept cranking down, and what are we going to do with the coal ash? So between the solid waste, the air pollution, but it was really the rigidity on the grid relative to renewables that ended up, and the cheap natural gas, all those things conspired to cut the role of coal to 2/3 of what it used to be. So you need, I don't think it's a single thing that helps us decarbonize. We have to, it's like acupuncture or something. We have to get a bunch of needles of change going on some of these things to drive extinction of these legacy sources.